What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Match Dad's podcast here on the Old Cranky Man Collectibles channel. My name is Rugley, joined here today by my co-host Pinty Het and special guest Geoff Moore. What's up, dudes?
Hi.
Hey, how's it going, Blake?
Good. Everything's great.
We're all here. We're all accounted for. Do you like having a guest?
I love guest episodes. So it has been at this point like almost a month since the Lawnlander, the most recent Lawnlander Championship qualifier. At Geoff Moore, you had an excellent run.
Yeah, end up finishing third, so good enough for a duel.
Good enough for a duel.
Not good enough for a lock in the end of year tournament, but we'll get there.
A good chunk of points, yes, absolutely. So this is your second Lawnlander qualifier top 8 of the year. It was the spring? Was it the spring?
Yeah, the first and third is.
Oh, so it was the winter one where you top 8'd with like a very, very similar deck. There's a ton of overlap. It's just kind of like Modern Horizons 3. Yeah, it's the same deck. Modern Horizons 3 gave you
same colors, like much different game plan, but yeah.
Yeah. Modern Horizons 3 gave you a bunch of good new Boros cards. So you did have like a small green splash, and now it's just straight up Boros tokens. But yeah, so we will talk about the deck extensively. But so yes, your second top 8 of the year puts you in excellent position as far as points are concerned to qualify for the championship at the end of the year. Stefan wanted to mention your other
bona fides.
Yeah, that's what he said, bona fides, whatever the hell that means. And you have you have a pretty amazing story about playing on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, so back in the olden times, it used to be you could just like spike one PTQ, which had like somewhere ranging from like 30 to like 100 people, and if you managed to clear out everybody else, you made your way to the Pro Tour. It was pretty much it. You just signed up for the tournament, you won the whole thing, you get to go to the Pro Tour. So I did that back in Khans of Tarkir for Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir, Fate Reforged. Apologies.
Yep. Okay.
And at that point, I had like almost like no credentials to my name. Like I had participated in 2 GPs by the time that the Pro Tour actually happened, both of which I performed miserably at 0-2 drop. But day one got put on the feature draft table alongside a bunch of other famous pros, most notably Louis Scott Vargas. And the announcers just reamed me the entire time. It's like, who is this guy? It's like going to this table full of sharks. They're basically trying to say like what weird strategies I could take to try and survive this draft pool. Ended up making it 2-1 in that draft.
Who would have thought a Magic player could play games of Magic and actually win?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I am going to go watch this. I want to watch you get savaged by some commentators.
Quality content.
Ended up dying to Louis Scott Vargas in the finals of that draft pod. None of the matches were televised, just the draft itself.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good time. The overall record of the Pro Tour, we won't talk about that too much. I don't want to bore you about it. All we need to remember is at one point I was 2-0.
That is a huge accomplishment in and of itself. Just getting to play on the Pro Tour across the table from Louis Scott Vargas. So, I mean, bravo. But now you said that you were primarily a limited player, but now you've been playing Canadian Highlander with us, and I've known you for quite a while, and I love having you at this tournaments. And last week on the podcast, Stefan and I had a little discussion about who we think is most likely to win the 4th and final Lawnlander Championship Series qualifier, and we believe that is you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
that's my money.
I'll take it.
So so you have kind of just taken this format by the reins and really made this deck your entire personality, and it seems to be working out for you.
I guess like the thing that draws me the most towards Canadian Highlander is the way I describe it is it's cube constructed. Yeah. If you have like a cube deck that you really love playing, like either through Moto or like through your friend's cube, you can basically more or less build that deck and play it like over and over again until you get tired of it and want to do something else. And that's what I think draws me the most towards the format is it's very similar to like a limited.
The games feel very much like limited. Yeah.
Yeah. Hit your curve, play appropriately, and like hold up, like try to know the cards that you think may be coming, but like don't always plan on the same game plan. And like because it's singleton, you're probably gonna have a different game every game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the deck in question is Boros tokens. So Geoff, please describe for me what is Boros tokens in Canadian Highlander.
Yeah, so Boros tokens, I mean, the name kind of says it all. You're playing red and white cards, predominantly things that make tokens or find ways to increase the power and toughness of those tokens, whether it be anthems or different effects that say goblins that
Goblin Bushwhacker.
+1/+0 and haste. Yeah.
I don't want to.
But in addition to that, it allows you to play all these like really powerful cards that aren't predominantly token makers that are just really strong in the format.
Some of the most powerful cards in the format are red and white, and red and white were the most played colors at this Law and Lander Championship Series qualifier. The most played cards in both the Swiss rounds and the top 8 were red and white. So, yeah, you definitely get to slot like literally the most powerful cards at this moment into the deck, and then just like fill it out with all these token makers and these anthem effects, and play what is very, very effective and quite consistent strategy, I think. So I am going to pull the deck list up on the screen now. There, the viewers at home can see it. We will start right at the top of here with everybody's favorite card. It's Comet Stellar Pup.
I don't like this card.
So Comet Stellar Pup.
I believe you guys are on record as saying that this is a terrible card.
Yeah.
So people should not play it.
I hate it.
Yeah, Comet Stellar Pup. We have spent quite a bit of time on this podcast talking about this card. It's insane, but the best part is that this little dude makes tokens.
It does thematically line up with the game plan as far as like what you're likely to do with it.
So, so if this card gets pointed sometime in the near future, does Geoff get up just play it for free because he's playing it not because it's a messed up Magic card, because it just makes it just makes 1/1 squirrels. Don't worry about it.
I mean, sometimes it's both.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's just like there's generally by the time that you have played this card, that is to say a 4-drop, every single mode is probably going to do something. Like your graveyard is stocked. It's either it could just immediately close the gap on your opponent's life total, or you're just making those tokens that are probably bigger because, like you said, you're playing anthems. So, and they have haste. Why not? Why wouldn't they?
And heaven forbid you ever roll a 6.
Oh my god!
How many times have you strung together rerolls?
Oh, good question.
The most I've ever got is 5.
I think the most I ever got, I got 1 6, which then turned into like 3 rolls total. It was like the 6, and then
2 additional.
Make 2 squirrels and then shoot my opponent for like 9. Is
crazy
because it goes that fast.
Tap 4 mana, deal your opponent 11 damage. No problem. Moving on. That is the only Planeswalker in the deck. We have quite a few creatures in here. 1-drops. You've got Esper Sentinel. This is in that good card slot, right? Like this doesn't have anything to do with tokens. It's a 1-drop that you can play that starts to do these card advantage things to your opponent, and eventually just starts attacking.
It's nothing exciting. It's just kind of a way to tax your opponent, generate yourself some extra cards. It also works really well with like anthem type effects, just because the tax increases by its actual power. So if you can find ways to pump it up either through anthems and stuff, then that's just like an extra way to try and get those little needles in to kind of outvalue your opponent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Guide of Souls, first of the Modern Horizons 3 cards. That like you've got a ton of Modern Horizons 3 cards in here, but Guide of Souls. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the card actually overperformed in the day. just the fact that it gains life like wasn't as big a deal, but the energy creation and then able to every time you're making tokens, you're getting these extra bonuses and you're able to jump these creatures that are most times the little 1/1s into 3/3 flying angels. And if you can do that enough times, your opponent eventually just dies.
Yeah, it does say it doesn't say whenever one or more creature. It says whenever another creature enters. So this does trigger when you have like raise alarm effects. You get 2 triggers off of it, and then like you can just stockpile things quickly and pay. The payoff is pretty substantial in this. Like the evasion, the bigger body.
Mm-hmm.
If it dies, it's probably correct.
Yeah.
And it's also got 2 toughness for 1 mana.
Yeah, and no one ever feels good about like using a removal spell on it, but it's almost always correct to do so.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't want to let it sit there.
I do not know what this next card is. It's Indebted Spirit. That is another Modern Horizons 3 card. So this is a 1 mana 1/1 with Bestow. It also has Afterlife 1, so when it dies, you get to make a token, and then it gives the enchanted creature +1/+1 and Afterlife 1 as well. So this is a 3-for-1.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I mean, it's if you like have the time off, you have nothing better to do. Like when you have 3 mana available, it's definitely. But most time, it's just cast on turn 1 as a 1-drop.
Sure.
Just something early to get on the board, and when it dies, it makes a token, so it's not the end of the world. It's Doom Traveler at its floor, and it just gets better from there.
Excellent. Yes. Of course, you're playing Mother of Runes. That is your only. Yeah, you do not have the other one, right? No.
No giver in this list.
Mother of Runes. Mother of Runes, again, another one of these very, very powerful white 1-drops that is, if you're playing like a creature-focused white deck, it's most certainly going to be in the deck. It can kill your opponent out of anywhere, and then it can also just like make their life a living nightmare trying to kill any of your creatures. Ocelot Pride is up next, and this is arguably one of the most powerful cards in Modern Horizons 3, if not the most powerful card in Modern Horizons 3.
Stone cold banger.
This card is insane.
I think it might be the most expensive right now. As we were talking, it's like I think like $70 or $80 or something.
Yeah, Moxfield says 58.
Okay, I picked one up for $20.
Oh, congratulations, MtG Finance.
Never buy high, never
buy
sell.
High, never sell. Thanks, Mingu. Excellent, perfect, love it. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, which dies in combat to Ocelot Pride, making Ocelot Pride the far superior 1-drop. Everybody knows what Ragavan does. We're gonna move on. Johnny
Cat kills monkey.
Johnny Nakadal Pariah, another one of these Modern Horizons 3 cards. This was actually the most played Modern Horizons 3 card at this tournament.
That makes sense. I mean, for those unfamiliar with what it does, it's a 1/2, enters the battlefield, makes a 2/1 cat token, which is great, just like face value, just 2 mana to make 3 power over 2 bodies.
Yep.
Then if a cat token or a cat creature dies, you flip a Johnny into its planeswalker form, which then can either put counters on all your cats, it can make another cat and then deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control if you control another red permanent. And it has ultimate ability, which is like Tragic Arrogance, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually do yet, but it can be super relevant if it ever does happen.
You get to activate that the turn after.
Yes, if he comes down and flips and +1s, you can ult him the next turn, which is, I mean, that's probably going to come up at some point in time, I would imagine.
That's pretty gross, my dude.
It's pretty unfortunate that they couldn't give him the old Armageddon text like the original Johnny.
Johnny Vengeance.
Yeah. So, are there other? You've got the Ocelot Pride. Are there other cats? Or is it just those 2?
I believe it's just those 2.
Okay. So something that I think gives this deck a huge advantage in our metagame specifically is like our metagame is for the most part mid-range soup. It's a whole bunch of different mid-range decks that are just like trying to grind out 1-for-1 card advantage and until both decks are in top deck mode, and then the player that draws the best cards wins. Like in general, there's a lot of games that don't play that way, but there's a lot of mid-range matchups in our metagame. And so where I think this Boros token deck really excels in those mid-range matchups specifically is that like basically every card in your deck is a 2-for-1, if not more than that. Mm-hmm. And when your opponent is trying to 1-for-1 you, it's not hard for you to like just keep building your board up in spite of them double spelling you every turn.
I think another another reason why this is like very powerful in the format right now is that as opposed to going big, like a bunch of like small creatures, just to go wide. So things like the initiative become a lot less powerful because you're having to trade it back and forth every turn. Or I'm able to attack with my little piddly tokens, take the initiative, and then just be able to chump block for days until I can build up enough advantage that way. So it just has like a lot of like weird, kind of unique ways to attack the format, especially our metagame, which I think is really powerful right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, going wide is almost like its own form of evasion. Like if you're willing to sacrifice a couple tokens, like they can't block them all.
Next up, NT Cynical of the Sun. This is another one of those like very, very good red cards. It is card advantage. It makes your creatures bigger and also gives them evasion, it's just everything that you want in a 2-drop, I think.
Another card with 8 lines of text on it.
Red cards that draw cards, pretty good.
And like the fact that it gives any creature attacking, like you play this pre-combat. Like the sequencing on this card are disgusting because you play it pre-combat on, let's say, turn 2, and you attack with your, let's say, I don't know, banger 1-drop Ocelot Pride. And then you just get to discard something, exile something from the top of your deck, maybe play it, maybe don't, who cares? Your Ocelot Pride is now a 2/2 permanently, and it has trample. And first strike.
And lifelink.
Oh, and by the way, at the end of my turn, I also get to make a 1/1 cat token.
Yeah, exactly. So you're buffing, like all of these pieces sort of play well together, and having this only cost 2 mana just really accelerates the game plan.
I do not know what this next card is. Oh, look, it's a Modern Horizons 3 card, Reckless Pyro Server. This is a 2-mana 2/2 with haste, and it has a landfall ability that's it gains Battle Cry until the end of the turn.
Another go wide mechanic, right?
Yeah, just another way to increase the power of your tokens and just try to kill your opponent sooner rather than later.
Do Battle Cry activation stack?
Yes, if you play like a fetch land, you get 2 instances of it, so you get the rest of your team +2/+0.
Okay.
When this attacks.
When it attacks, yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's super gross. Next up is Resolute Reinforcements. This is a 2-mana 1/1 with flash, and when it enters, you get a 1/1 soldier token. So it's raise the alarm, but it's a creature.
It's a creature. Raise the alarm that can't be negated.
Yeah. Perfect. No notes.
Yeah, exactly. What is this card? Securitron Squadron. Oh, okay. I have no idea what this is.
This is a spicy one. All right, this is one from the Fallout decks, I believe. But it's a 2-mana 2/2 for 1 and a white. It has the I can't remember what the keyword ability is. But squad. Yeah. You pay an additional 3 any number of times when you cast this. If you do, you make an additional copy of it for the number of times you paid that cost. So it's another form of kicker. Everything in Magic is kicker.
And you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, and then it also has the ability of every token that enters the battlefield, in general, not just the copies of this, come with a +1/+1 counter. So if you kick this twice, that first token that is going to come in is going to have the 1 counter. If you make 2 copies of it, they'll both come with 2 +1/+1 counters. If you, because they see each other coming in. So only the first one is the non-token. The rest are all token abilities. It's pretty gross. Even at its floor, it's still just a 2/2 that makes all your other tokens when they enter better.
Yeah, it has vigilance too. Why not?
Yeah, just
give it a key.
Power creep in the last 2-3 years has been kind of bananas. But here we are.
How often are you actually hitting squad on this? Like it feels like this is fine just to pay 2 for 2.
I think I did it once on the day. Most of the time, it's just you're just playing it to curve out onto trying to get some extra value for your raise the alarm type effects. But
so if you squad it once, it's 5 mana and 5 power with vigilance.
Yeah, true. It seems appropriately costed.
Onto the 3 drops, we have an Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Stefan, did you know that in addition to having a billion power, that this card also makes tokens?
I was aware of that. I have played this card. I believe Geoff played it against me. I don't know if you played it or if Al played it against me, but you both were on sort of like had some overlapping cards.
Yeah, I remember, Al of course plays the Mardu tokens deck.
Yeah, I remember it came down and I immediately played a fight spell because I was like, I'm not dealing with this.
Not today, Satan.
Tail swipe that away. Thank you very much. I know what this card does.
Yeah, card is very, very gross. If you have a whole bunch of tokens in play, it's not unusual for this card to have like 10 power. Now we have reached the Goblin Rabblemaster section of this tokens deck.
Oh yeah.
How many of these are there? So Enem Pakal, then you've got actual Goblin Rabblemaster. You've got Legion War Boss.
Yep.
You've got Squeedubious Monarch.
Yeah.
And that is it. So just 4 Rabblmasters then.
Just 4.
Only 4.
Is there more?
I mean, like Adeline is kind of the Rabblemaster effect.
Oh, well, sure. So I suppose. Yeah, you're right. Adeline is a Rabblemaster.
I remember when these cards were like slam dunks into every deck, and now I think they just go in the token deck.
Yeah, like I mean, Rabblemaster, like the OG, I feel is kind of fallen out of favor a little bit, just because like it doesn't quite have the same oomph that like Legion Warboss has, where you are permanently increasing the power of your tokens.
Yeah.
But I think the ability for it to on an empty board where it's like swinging and getting like plus 3-4 power, it's still really, really strong.
Play it pre-combat.
Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to the Rabblemaster style effects, you've got this Broadside Bombardiers, huh? This card goes pretty good in the tokens deck.
No.
Oh my god, this card was so gross all day long, especially against my match against Stefan.
Perfect.
But I think
Speak on that.
So probably my favorite line was I played on turn 3, attack, no sack. Turn 4, Stefan I think plays 1 creature. As you may or may not know, it has menace. It can't block.
Yeah.
Main phase 2, I cast a Flage from my hand. Get to lightning heal something for 3. I think I kill his 1 newly cast creature. Use the Bombardier's ability, sacrifice it to Lava Axe's face.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was a disgusting turn.
I believe that ended the game.
If Flage was gonna die anyway, I mean, why not? Gut True Zealot. What does this card do? Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, create a 4/1 skeleton with menace that's tapped and attacking. So this is kind of like a Rabblemaster. You can turn one of your 1/1 tokens into a 4/1 with menace, which just seems insane.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It reminds me of Broadside Bombardiers. Like you're getting additional power for sacrificing something that wasn't going to do as much.
Yeah, it's the card is almost always like trading up whenever you're sacrificing something, even if you're throwing away like a token, or maybe you have like a random treasure from like Ragavan, or maybe you have like a mana crypt that has been like nugging you for 3 every turn.
Oh, that's because. Oh, wait, hold on. That's because you suck at flipping coins.
Yeah.
Rolling dice. We roll dice here.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Evens and odds.
Yeah, for sure. It's always an upgrade though. But the part that I think is like nuts is that the creature comes in tapped and attacking, and it has menace.
Yeah.
That's a real big deal. Because you're gonna get 2 for 1 off that thing almost undoubtedly.
Also, the art is super metal. Yeah, I'm here for this card. Magus of the Moon. Curious, are you also playing Blood Moon?
Yes, playing both.
Okay, these Blood Moons are very divisive amongst basically everybody that plays this format. So how were the moons for you in this tournament?
So they were 50-50. They Stone Cold won me a match on camera against Zoe, where it turns out if you're playing 4 colors, it's very hard to win against a 3 Blood Moon.
It's a cost.
You don't say.
The thing is, like, I also cut myself off from white to do it, but I think I have a lot more red cards than they do, so it was just easy mode. But then, like, there's a lot of times where I'm going up against Stefan's mono green deck or Travis's mono white deck, and they're just like more or less dead cards. At that point,
we aim for that.
at that point, we're just like pitching them to Chrome Mox or looting them away with like MTs or just finding some other way to cycle through them. Because
I mean, that's kind of how I've always felt about the Moons as well. Is like they're very, very good in some matchups, and then like the game, just by playing the game, there are ways where you can like use dead cards, even if it's just a Gray Ogre. I think it's fine, honestly.
And I've gone back and forth with like cutting them from the deck just because even though like I'm not always playing them, people are always cognizant of it, so they might fetch them in a certain way. So like maybe I'm like bluffing as well. I'm like I'm fetching for a basic on turn one. It's like, oh god, what's going on here?
If I am playing against an opponent that I know is well on red first of all, but playing 2 or less colors, I always play around Blood Moons, regardless of whether or not I think they may or may not be in the deck. Just because, like, I have lost some unlosable games because my opponent drew a Blood Moon. Let me tell you.
Just fetch a couple basics.
Flage Titan of Fire's Fury was another one of the most played cards for Modern Horizons 3. You already described an insane scenario where you play Flage after attacking with the Broadside Bombardiers, which is bananas. I know that when we played in the Father's Day tournament, I had a turn where was like several turns where I had a Caracas and a Flage, and I was just like bouncing it back to my hand and casting it over and over again every turn, which was bananas. Assuming you also have Caracas in this deck, so you can do those things. Like, what other weird stuff can you do with this Flage?
So one that's been pretty popular, like at least like in like the modern community right now, is Flage plus Arena of Glory. So if you using Arena of Glory mana, it now enters the battlefield from the escape cost. Lightning Helix is something. It now has haste, so you attack the 6/6, you get another Lightning Helix trigger, talking 12 damage in one turn for the humble cost of 4 mana.
Right, and you gained 6 life on top of that, so it's like an 18-point life point swing, which is nuts. You have my favorite card from 2023. Did this card come out in 2023? I don't remember now. How time flies. I love Lelia. I hate it when my opponent has a Caracas and I have a Lelia, but we won't talk about that.
The downside of legendary.
This is another like insane card that just like creates tons of card advantage if it gets to stick around. It is most assuredly an auto include in a red creature deck, so it doesn't really do anything with tokens, but who needs that?
It's just a good card. Just card advantage. It becomes bigger. It hits for 3 on the turn it comes down. It also like combos with some of the other effects in the deck, like NT like triggers the Lilia as well.
Oh sure.
So just other effects like Headliner Scarlet, where on the beginning of your upkeep you exile a card from top of your library. Also pumps up your Lilia. But yeah, it's just a good, strong, powerful card that can sometimes hit a Mox or Mana Crypt for free on the turn you play it.
It's such a funny joke that you had said that there's something that happens on your upkeep after Headliner Scarlet comes down. Because
normally
usually you just play a Headliner Scarlet and you win, right? Nothing. There's no more upkeeps.
Stone Cold Game Ender.
Speaking of Stone Cold Game Enders, look at this Reckless Bushwhacker.
Oh no! Oh my God! The Jay Leno Goblin.
Jay Leno.
The chin that ruined my day.
I have not actually heard this story yet, so please, hold on. Let me put our faces back in here because I want to see Stefan's embarrassment. So, okay, there we are. We're back. Tell me the story about the Reckless Bushwhacker, please.
All right, so it all kind of started. I believe Stefan had 2 Thruns in play.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, because those are fun cards to play against, like ones that you can't interact with at all.
Yep.
In addition,
go ahead.
He also had a Shadow Spear that was sitting under a static prison that I had wafted between playing that and Chain to the Rocks before the event. Ended up landing on static prison because it can hit things such as Shadow Spear and other non-creature permanents. And so we're sitting there. I'm like, my energy is like whittling down. I'm just kind of like adding stuff to the board. have like I draw my card for turn. It's another token producer. I basically play 2 Raise the Alarm effects, slam the Reckless Bushwhacker for its surge cost, swing out for I think it was like ended up being like 14 damage.
Wow.
And it was 12 damage like from attacking, and then I had the Broadside Bombardiers to sacrifice the Reckless Bushwhacker for another 6.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
It was disgusting. It went from Stefan can't possibly lose to I guess we're going to the next game.
What was your life total, Geoff?
It was somewhere between like 0 and 2.
It was 1.
all I heard was not dead.
Okay, so Sanguine Evangelist. This is it's another battle cry guy. When it enters or dies, you get a 1/1 bat.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, it just makes tokens and it pumps up all tokens when it attacks. So it's just does all the things that checks all the boxes.
Yeah. Seasoned Pyromancer, another card that makes tokens. It makes tokens 2 different ways. So this is a pretty sweet card that you can discard to like an NT or a Fable of the Mirror Breaker to get some value out of later. So that's a nice little added synergy.
It's also just a great top deck when you're like empty-handed. Just play a 2/2 for 3, draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Draw 2 lands in my experience.
Oh, no.
You play this, you're like, good. 2 more lands.
Squeak Dubious Monarch, another card that's okay to discard.
Yeah, it does kind of like fall into like this weird taxing situation where you don't want to exile too many things from your graveyard because you are still playing Flage in the deck.
Sure.
But in 100 card singleton, like the odds of you drawing Flage and it are reduced greatly. So it's not too worried about it, but it's just like you have to be kind of cognizant of it.
Don't let it stop you. Right?
The next 2 cards, I don't want to spend too much time on there. White Plume Adventure and Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay, that was good. Fireflux Squad is a 4 mana 4.
Those don't make tokens.
Seriously though, I mean, you're not gonna not play these cards.
It's also a Seasoned Dungeoneer in there.
There is a Seasoned Dungeoneer down there. You're not gonna not play these cards in this deck. And I really don't know that you need to say a whole lot more about them. That Caves of Chaos Adventure does that Lelia NT thing where you just get to draw cards every turn. The card's nuts. It has trample. I mean, the initiative is a very real part of our format, and so why would you not?
You got to deal with it.
Moving on. Fireflux Squad. This is not a card that I've ever seen before. So it's a 4 mana 4/3 with haste. Whenever it attacks, you can exile another attacking creature you control and reveal cards from the top of your library. Until you reveal a creature, put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking the rest of them. So it's kind of like a Winota. I'm noticing a trend here where like most of your deck has haste, which is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing red, that's definitely one of the benefits of doing so.
Sure.
And just it seems like they just want to add as many keywords, as many cards as possible anymore. So just take advantage of it while we can.
Which of these guys do you think has 2 power? Because there's 3 guys and they have 3 toughness, but one of them has 2 power, obviously, because they're a 4/3.
It's definitely the guy with the flail, right?
You think so?
Yeah.
I always go for the guy that's in front because if you're leading the charge, you just got to
You're the 2/1. The other is just 1/1 in the back.
The little lackeys.
They got to stay close.
Headliner Scarlet. We did mention this one a bit. We have talked about this quite a bit on the podcast.
Falter effect.
This card is insane. Like, hello, you can't block. Sorry, you're dead. And then, like Geoff said, which I didn't even actually know, on your upkeep, you get a bottle of card that you can play this turn because every time this card has come down against me, I just die.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, I know it doesn't. That's like the most reductive thing to say about it, but holy cow!
This like a lot of these are just like cards that like I didn't know existed until they showed up in like some cube format. I'm like, that card's dumb. I mean, so it's in the deck.
So that's another. Okay, pause. I gotta get our faces back up here. Another sweet thing about Canadian Highlander. And Geoff is, a fairly new player to the format. And he just said something that I think a lot of people miss is that you get to play a lot of really, really sweet cards. When you're playing 60 card formats where you get to play up to 4 copies of any card, you run out of deck lists really, really quickly. So you're just playing like the 8 best 1-drops, the 8 best 2-drops, and so on and so forth. And so like you don't have that option in here. Like you need to fill up your 3-drop curve. So you got to get kind of weird. But in doing so, you're picking up these like these cube rares and these like a tentpole draft uncommons from a limited format 10 years ago. And you're like, this card is cracked.
There are all these cards that you would never see in any other format, I don't think. Like, obviously... Yeah.
You don't even see them in other 100-card singleton formats like Commander, because the deck building in Commander is just a completely different animal than it is in Canadian Highlander. So, yeah. All right. Anyways,
irony that these are like Commander cards.
Right. Moving on from that little sidebar. Back to the 4-drops. We've got a Seasoned Dungeoneer, which we also already mentioned. A Winota Joiner of Forces. This is a card.
My queen.
This is Stefan's favorite one-armed queen. Okay, I don't want to sit here and do the math. Tell me the math. How often is this card hitting?
Typically, like it's hitting at least a third of the time for each trigger.
Yeah, Winota is definitely one of those. Like, you just have to kill this card on side because it snowballs out of control so quickly.
Oh, and it has 4 toughness.
We've talked,
and it doesn't have to. Yeah, it's okay. We've talked
a couple times about this card, but I actually don't know what it does. So, Eomer is a 5-mana 2/2 with double strike. He enters with a +1/+1 counter for each other human you control. So that's pretty crazy. Stefan, would you say 16 humans in the deck? But I got to imagine
17 counting Winota.
But I got to imagine that a bunch of your tokens are also humans. Am I wrong?
Yes, there are a lot of human token creators as well.
So this guy's going to be big when he comes down. He also has double strike. As if that wasn't enough, though, he also says whenever he enters the battlefield, target player becomes the monarch, and then he deals damage equal to his power to any target. Like, what? Holy cow!
Yeah, this is I believe this one was from the Lord of the Rings Commander set.
Yep.
For the humans deck in that, and it's just a dumb card, but I'm happy that it exists.
As far as top ends go, this is a fantastic top end to a curve.
I was like the deck I was playing previously. I was playing Othari instead, which is another Boros cube extraordinaire.
Right. That's like the Phoenix, right?
Yeah, it's Phoenix that attacks, makes rebels. Biggest downside of that one is you have to attack, and if you're getting to 5 mana, your opponent is more likely to have like a removal spell for it before it gets a chance to do so, or a Caracas. This is a lot more punishing for those lines, because like worst case scenario, you're still shooting something for at minimum 2 damage and getting the Monarch to be able to draw back into somewhat of a relevant game.
You have to have some sort of resiliency on these 5 mana cards. Mm-hmm. Like just coming down and being a 5 mana creature and then waiting a turn, even haste sometimes, like you need some sort of card advantage kind of attached to it, or resiliency.
Right. Otherwise it's not worth spending 5 mana on. Last couple of creatures you got in here are Fury and Solitude.
Those seem okay. I don't know. Maybe they, who knows?
Okay, so we are going to move on now to the non-creature spells. Starting off at the top here, we've got a plethora of really solid removal spells. Galvanic Discharge, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Get Lost. You've also got Lightning Helix in here. In addition to those as instance, you've got another modal double face card in this Legion Leadership. So
how often do you kill people with this, you think?
It just doubles target creature's power.
Yeah, it's not often, just because like I don't have like a ton of high power creatures. I think majority of the time it was just played on turn 1 as a red-white land. I don't think I ever got to cast it, to be honest. Like the idea behind it, I think, is very sweet. It's just a matter of like in theory, I just haven't put it into practice yet.
Yeah, adding that utility to your mana base is you can't say enough about it, honestly. Look at that,
especially being only 2 colors.
A card that used to be pointed its price of progress. You just get to play this card for free now.
Yeah.
Did you kill anybody?
No, I like I said, like the times where it was good, I didn't draw it, and the times where it was bad, like I ended up having to just throw it away because it didn't do anything. It hurt me more than it hurt my opponent.
Oh, so
it honestly might be one of like the first cuts of the deck, just because I don't think it does enough.
Wow.
classic.
You heard it here first. You heard it here
experience.
first, folks. Price of Progress, not a good Magic card.
Not good enough.
Raise the Alarm, of course, is one of these token makers. Okay, let's go down and do these sorceries now, since I'm an idiot and skip them. You've got more premium removal in Chain Lightning, Prismatic Ending, and that appears to be it. Clowning Around. What is this? Create 2/1/1 white clown robot artifact creature tokens. Then what?
What?
Then roll a 6-sided dice. Oh my god! If the result is Geoff, what does this card do?
It makes clouds.
I hate Infinity so much.
It makes 2/1/1s, so it's basically it's a sorcery speed, raise the alarm.
Okay.
Or like a dragon fodder type effect. If you high roll, or I guess in this case you want to low roll, because you want to roll equal or less than the number of clown robots that you have on the battlefield. Or just robots.
Yeah.
You get to make an additional one. So if you get lucky on your roll, you make a third one.
Gotcha.
So it can turn into like a 2-mana Hordling Outburst, which is very powerful.
Sure.
But most time it's just a 2-mana make 2/1/1s.
Yeah.
Forbidden Friendship. This is another Raise the Alarm.
Love this card.
It makes a regular 1/1 human and a hasty 1/1 dinosaur.
Rally at the Hornbird. Oh, look, another Raise the Alarm. Oh, it gives all your humans haste.
Yeah, that one's annoying. Geoff did some damage to you with this thing.
The art on that card is very sweet too.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. Like it's kind of sad because I feel like red white was one of the in the draft format for Lord of the Rings was one of the ones that were kind of skewed for the most part because black was so powerful. So no one really played with this too much in limited, but like the card is very, very good, especially if you have even a medium amount of humans in your deck.
It's also a very cool moment in the Two Towers.
Look, another Raise the Alarm. It's Servo Expedition. How many? Okay, wait. How many Raise the Alarms do you have? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 with the actual Raise the Alarm, and 6 with the creature that's the Raise the Alarm. I did not know that many Raise the Alarms existed. Neat. The first pointed card that we've talked about today is Fourth Aerolingus. I'm a big fan of this card. It is like quite possibly the most powerful fireball that's ever been printed. But I mean, you're a token stack, so why not?
Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of the weaker shells for it, just because most time you're not getting up to that higher level of mana. But in the games where you run into the kind of board stalls where things are just kind of going slow, you're kind of like whittling your opponent down. It can be just a good finisher at the end.
Yeah. Last sorcery in here is Sundering Eruption, which is I guess it's a Stone Rain that's also a land.
Yeah,
There's a last line on it too. Creatures without flying can't block this turn.
Oh, neat.
Sunder. Yeah. That's just a game winner.
Yeah, it's just because the Stone Rain, they can go find a basic to replace it. So it's kind of a non-bow with your Blood Moon style effects. But most times if you're casting this, you're just trying to win the game on that turn. You're saying, hey, your stuff can't block. I attack for 1 billion.
Or it's just a land.
Or it's just a land.
Yeah, or you just make your land drop.
Okay, so you had mentioned that there are some anthems in here, but I haven't seen any of those yet. I would imagine those are probably in with the enchantments.
That is a good bet.
Let's see here. So you got Legion's Landing. This was super powerful card in that standard format, but I don't think it's made too many waves outside of that standard format. So it's just a 1-mana enchantment that makes a 1/1 vampire with lifelink when it comes in. And then whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it transforms into a land that makes 1/1 vampires with lifelink. So I would imagine with all of the Raise the Alarms in here, you have some pretty insane curves where you play this on turn 1, and then on turn 2 you play a Raise the Alarm, and then on turn 3 you flip it over, and then on turn 4 you're just going to make a 1/1 every turn for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Also unsung hero with this card. If you also get like Ocelot Pride in line with it.
Oh,
turn
that's
1.
gross.
Turn 2, you attack with it, gain a life, play Ocelot Pride, make a token, then following turn just attack and flip it over.
I would prefer if you didn't do that. Thanks.
And if you live the dream, you could play Mox Pearl and do both on turn 1, and then just turn 2 flip it, and you're
you have a
4 mana.
You have a send on turn 3.
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
Why not high roll all of your games?
Static. Welcome to Canadian Highlander. Static Prison is a card that you mentioned previously. You were waffling back and forth about playing this or Chain to the Rocks. Decided on Static Prison because it can deal with non-creature permanents.
Yeah. So the idea behind it is, so Chain to the Rocks is the more permanent solution, assuming they can't kill it, which kind of goes for both versions of this anyway.
Sure.
But the idea behind it is this can deal with any problem permanents that are making your life miserable that you can't deal with otherwise. And you just need time to kill your opponent. And turns out most time, 3 turns of something not being on the battlefield is long enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, sure is. Just long enough, it turns out.
Hey, you got that Shadow Spear back into play before you died. So I mean, that's something.
Didn't have enough time to equip it.
But it was there.
You're correct. It was in play.
Yep.
Technically correct.
And then you've got Chivalric Alliance. I don't know what this card does. It's a 2 mana. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Okay, so that's nice. And then you can pay 2 mana and discard a card to create a 2/2 night creature token with vigilance. So, yeah, I mean, seems good. It's a repeatable way to make creatures over and over again, and it also draws you cards. So even if you're drawing dead cards, you're still going to make tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Seems very, very good. Flowering of the White Tree. I saw you do some disgusting things in one of the top 8 matches with this card. This is the first of these Anthem effects that we have ran into. And you also have, yeah, Travis has this in his deck as well. You also have a number of legendary creatures that I think is quite a bit higher than most decks. And so giving those legendary creatures +2/+1 and Ward 1 also something that probably happens pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Impact Tremors plus Anthem, like that's insane. Wedding Announcement, that's the one that makes 1/1s. Yeah.
Or draws cards depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. Seems very, very good. And Virtue of Loyalty. Oh, yes, that is another. Oh, I guess it's not a Raise the Alarm. It just makes 1 token, but it's a 2/2.
Yeah.
So that is it for the enchantments. The rest of your pointed cards, which we talked about, Fourth Aerolingus. You've also got Mana Crypt, Mox Pearl in the artifact spots.
Mana Crypt is at 4, whereas the Mox Ruby is at 3. So I had an extra point to play around with, but also just being able to jump up to 3 mana like as early as turn 1, as opposed to just going to 2. So you can like drop like a turn 1 Lelia or Goblin Rabbit Master
or Blood Moon,
Legion War Boss, Blood Moon. Just say, hey, turn 1, I'm going to make your life miserable. Turns out is pretty good most of the time.
Yeah. I am inclined to agree. Of course, you've got a Shadow Spear, a Skull Clamp, a Glimmer Lens. What is this? Oh, this is a Mirrodin card.
Yeah, Glimmer Lens, and
you make a 2/2 when it comes in and attach it to it. The equipped creature and at least 1 other creature attack draw a card. So this is more sources of card advantage.
This card's a banger.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very, very good. It's 2 mana 2/2 that when it attacks it draws a card, and then you also get to move that equipment around if you want to later. So
Jeremiah is actually the one that put me onto this card originally too.
Staff of the Storyteller. This card is an insane engine when you are making tokens every single turn.
Yeah, I mean, like, just like most cards, like at its floor, you're making a 1/1 flyer that allows you to pay an additional mana to draw a card. It's nothing too exciting because I mean, like I think there's a lot of better cards that are probably 3 mana, put this flyer into play, draw a card. But the fact that you can kind of generate a ton more value from all your tokens, just to outvalue your opponent who's probably playing these bigger, more powerful cards. Just being able to continue to generate that value, go wider, keep putting stuff on the board that they have to try and deal with.
Just pressure.
Yeah. Where this card shines.
I have one quick question. Staff of the Storyteller. Who is on that art?
That is Thrun.
That is Thrun.
You
and I both had Thrun in our deck.
Yeah, you had 2 of them in play.
I did have 2 of them in play. I just love that Thrun is everywhere. Season of Thrun, baby.
Throne is everywhere. Throne is all. Throne is life.
Throne is getting put on the bottom of my deck.
I didn't know that by a terminus. I didn't know that Thrun was a storyteller.
Yeah, now he is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so that is it for the non-land cards. You do have your last point here in Ancient Tomb. Of course, we talked about Arena of Glory. Are there any other lands that you want to highlight? It looks like for the most part it's just mana. You've got a Caracas in here, of course.
The only one that was very important for the day was Den of the Bugbear, which is the one that turns into a goblin for 4 mana and attacks, and it's like another Realm Master type effect. Which in my battle for 3rd place to try and secure a duel, the last game was just me not drawing anything, so I'm activating Den of the Bugbear for like 4 turns in a row, and that was enough to kill my Jeskai control opponent.
Yeah. Did you activate it more than once in a turn? Did you do like the double activation?
No, I never got up to quite that high mana.
Because they stack. Like you get to make more than 1 token if you activate it more than once.
Yeah, it's like the Raging Ravine trick where you're getting like additional +1/+1 counter, just now you're getting an extra goblin.
Yeah. How do you feel about
Manlands are super good against Jeskai decks. Go ahead, Urza Saga. You have that in this deck too.
So Urza Saga, I love the card Urza Saga. I every time I get to put it into play, I always struggle to determine what is the best way to handle that. Am I trying to get max value, make as many tokens as I can, because I don't have a ton of artifact synergies, but I have enough to where these things are still going to be decently sized by the time that we sacrifice the enchantment. We also have a love-hate relationship because we're also playing Blood Moons on our deck, which Urza Saga and Blood Moons are not the best of friends.
Tend to not be.
Yeah,
Urza Saga isn't really much of a matchup for it. It just dies.
Yeah, just okay, well, let's just put this in the graveyard. But overall, I think the Urza Saga as the card is extremely powerful, and I'd be hard pressed to omit it from very many decks at all.
Yeah.
So it's just at its worst, you're still getting 2/1/1 or 2 constructs out of the deal.
And it replaces. Generally, you have a Mox to get to replace it too.
Or if you don't need any extra mana, you can go find your Skull Clamp to try and get some more card advantage. It's just Shadow Spear to push through those last points of damage, or if you're up against something very aggressive that's punishing your life total, you can kind of fight your way back and just try to win the life game.
The life link is so important. Yeah. How do you feel about there is this, we'll talk about this more later, but there was sort of a feedback from community response where people are sort of calling for Urza Saga to catch a point, to eat a point.
Okay, hold on. On that point, I am going to bring this back up to our faces. And feel free to discuss that.
Yeah, would you feel that you would still include it? Would you find room for it, or is it would it just be gone?
Yeah, I think I would probably still try to find room for it. I don't think Urza Saga is quite powerful enough to catch a point at this level. I do think it is something that you probably include in most of your decks, but I don't know if it's quite enough to quite reach that point level status. I think I would argue that Broadside Bombardiers, even though it's a colored card that can't go in every deck, the power level of it is greater than that of Urza Saga. You heard?
Interesting. Yeah, I think Urza Saga is sort of a card that is ubiquitous in our format, but not necessarily overtly powerful. It can get some it can replace itself with some powerful cards like a Moxen or a Black Lotus or whatever. But I don't know if it's at the point yet where we need to look at pointing it.
Yeah, it's for me Urza Saga, it is a very strong engine. It can really kind of either stall at the game or put your deck in a more winning position. Whereas something like Broadside Bombardiers, it can just kind of kill you within 2 or 3 turns, which I don't think Urza Saga is quite there.
Interesting. Well, in a few weeks on the podcast, we are going to have a very thorough discussion about that community thing.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, Geoff, what is your favorite card in this deck?
Ooh, my favorite card. The card that's probably the most fun is probably either Winota or the Fireflux God, just because it does kind of give that spinning the wheel and hoping that you kind of hit something.
Adds an element of randomness.
Yeah. but as far as just like overall power level, I mean, it's hard to say, like, based on the games that how they played out, it's got to be Broadside Bombardiers. Card is just bananas all day, every day.
Sweet.
And I can't speak highly enough of it.
I can.
So all decks have their weaknesses. What do you think this deck's biggest weakness is?
I'd say the biggest weakness is probably like evasive creatures, things that like make it to where you can't just like use your tokens to like chump block and make sure you're winning the race that way. One of the games I had against Spencer early on, where he played just a turn 2. It's the 3/2 from Modern Horizons 2. It's like double black that has Shadow.
Oh, Delphi Voidwalker.
Yeah, it just like attack. They played that on turn 2, and then just played like a few like giant green idiots that I couldn't like attack past.
Sure.
And just dug me for 3 turn after turn.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess I'm just gonna die to this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when one of your primary defensive game plans is chump blocking with 1/1s and you can't chump block with 1/1s, that's like a huge problem for you. So, what do you think are your best matchups?
I'd say like anything that's trying to go like big, like singularly, or kind of slower matchups, like kind of more controlling styles. I think are probably the best matchups for me, just because I'm able to kind of pressure them from different angles. Control doesn't really like things that are going fast.
Yep.
And that's kind of what this is doing most of the time.
Yep.
And so as long as you can kind of get something on the board before they can hold up their counter magic, or if they're going to spend their turn wrapping the board, you have enough in your hand that you can dump something out really quickly, and most of the time it has haste and just keeps pressuring them again.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
How do you feel about the card Hop to It?
Is this a Bloom Barrel card?
It is a Bloom Barrel card.
I think the card is powerful, but I think 3 mana might be too much to include in the deck for what you're getting out of it. Because like it would have to take the place of something else that is generating cumulative advantage, like a Rattle Master or an Animal Call. So it has to be something that I feel is more powerful than that. It could be like something in place of like a Blood Moon style effect. Depending on whether or not I'm feeling like it's going to be a good weekend for that card in particular.
You're getting rid of price progress.
Yeah, that's true. I think the card from Bloom Barrel that I'm more excited to try in this than Hop to It is going to be one of the commander cards called Jacked Rabbit.
Oh yeah. Why is he so thick?
It is a X1 and a white for a 1/2. And it has was it Ferocious? Is that the name of the ability? Like
Ravenous.
Yeah, Ravenous.
Yeah.
Where if the X is
5 or more,
5 or greater, you get a draw card when it enters the battlefield. But also, whenever this card attacks, you get to make 1/1 rabbits equal to its power. So you can.
That's a big bunny, and he brought all his tiny little friends.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like worst case scenario, like I'm playing this on turn 2 as a 1/2, and it's attacking. It's like another Rattle Master type effect.
Sure.
But it could be just another like pseudo card advantage that also is just this huge threat that my opponent has to deal with again.
Yeah. That's a bonkers top deck, right? Like if you're late in the game and both boards are empty, and you draw this card, and you're like, I get to sink 7 mana into this.
Parody
draw another card. Yeah. Like there's no stopping it from that point.
There is one card that I was thinking of when we were going through your deck that I'm kind of shocked that you're not playing. That's Hero of Bladehold.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I don't like for me. Like I think that's probably something I should look into more, just because it does fall into the human kind of sub theme of the deck. Also, mixed tokens, battle cry.
Yep.
I think it's something I have to look into replacing. So it'd probably take the place of like a Fireflux squad.
Sure.
Which I don't know, like it's kind of like a what do you want? Are you wanting to have like tokens, or are you wanting to just get in there as fast as possible? And
having all those haste creatures, it makes a lot of sense. It's just, and you can only play so many 4-drops. But I have watched Travis do some absolutely disgusting things with Hero of Bladehold. it's another one of those cards that spirals out of control very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Is there anything else that you want to say about this archetype?
I just think like the deck is really powerful right now. It's in a very good position. Don't sideboard against it or don't change your decks to beat it, because there's a pretty
no, don't do that.
This is what I'm going to be playing. This is probably what I'm going to be playing to in the final quarterly of the year.
Put Hellrider in there, baby. Don't be a coward.
Oh man,
Hellrider. That's a card that
so many good 4-drops. It's
holy cow. Yeah,
Hellrider.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Stefan.
Oh.
Listen, I'm looking forward to a rematch, man. I had a lot of fun playing it. Genuinely.
Geoff, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Congratulations on your top 8 finish, and good luck in the Nyx Lawnlander qualifier. I would love to see you in the championship at the end of the year. For everybody else, listen, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. And with that out of the way, we just want to remind you that we're proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
Bye.
Bye.